Hey guys! It's been a while since I've had a chance to do a Stitch With Me video. And this is going to be like really hard to see and hard to get in focus, and I apologize for that, but this is a humongous scroll frame. Like, holy cow, it's huge. It's 36 inches long. So I'm just kind of doing the best I can. There's going to be, for those of you who are watching later, there's going to be a brief little bit of shuffling while I get things arranged. I'm sharing this link in several places, and then I'll explain what I'm about to start stitching. So hold tight for me, guys. You can see my computer like, hey. I can't talk and type at the same time, so I'm just posting this into a couple different groups that would need to know. And we'll get started here in just a sec. You guys can just check out my like cool little needle minder that's hanging out up here. And then I'll be right back, I swear. All right, I'm almost done, I swear. Okay, so I'm back now, and I am monitoring the chat room, so if you guys say anything, I will see it. I've got it running on my computer over here to the side. And for anybody watching later, I will be reading out comments that are in the chat room, because those don't carry through in the video afterwards for some reason. So, for those of you who are not coming to join me from the George Washington group, let me explain just a little bit about the piece that I'm going to be starting tonight. And it looks like just a piece of dark, doesn't it? Yep, that's the whole piece. Sure is. So this is panel number 63 of 112 different panels. And when, you can see that that's my stitch count right there. So it's not a small piece in the slightest. This is roughly the size of a heaven and earth. But this is one piece of 112 different pieces. And the end, these are all going to be stitched together by the lovely, wonderful Heather Russell, who organized this entire project for us. She got all the fabric donated. She got all the thread donated. And then she designed the pattern and did all the organization. And eventually, this is going to be the world's largest cross stitch. When the 112 panels are put together, it will be like twice the size of the current record holder. So it's going to be massive, massive, massive. And it is going to be the famous painting of George Washington crossing the Delaware on Christmas Day. So this is a project that's been many years in the making. I joined in I think it was about 2 years ago that I got involved in this project, and we finally were kicking it off. We decided to do kind of a midnight kickoff on February 22nd, which is George Washington's birthday. So hooray. So here is, again, that's what mine will look like. It's the water. Like literally mine is just the water. So it's like the very bottom of the piece, but that's cool. It's fun. Hey, Angie finally made it to one of my live videos. Yay. So yeah, that's my piece. One of 102 pages of pattern. And all of my colors are really dark. They're all grays and greens and browns, mostly grays and greens. So tonight we're all starting off and kicking off together, and there's a bunch of people that have already started, and I'm behind because I was doing videos for y'all. So I think I just knocked my charger off. So I'm gonna get my needle threaded and get started. Even our needles were donated. We got size 24 and 26 needles donated. All the floss is Sullivan's floss. It was donated by Sullivan's. I've never used Sullivan's before, so this will be a new and interesting thing. And we are not doing loop starts in this, because it's actually bad on the thread to loop start, and I usually don't care on my personal projects, but since this is something we're hoping to get into a museum and be around for a really, really long time, it kind of does matter. So I'm going to pin stitch start. So I already marked the start of my piece. It's up here in the top corner, and my first stitch, that's the wrong page. There we go. And I'm sorry, this is going to be so hard to see, guys, but I mean, with a piece of fabric this big, I just don't know any other way to do it. So I did a video earlier kind of like with some how-to stuff for people who are participating in this project. One of the things I showed them was the diagonal pin stitch. That's how I'm going to start mine. So this is my first stitch on a project that has been in the making for several years. And like I said, will eventually, hopefully, hang in a museum somewhere. And I think it is so cool that my stitching will probably be in a museum. Like, how cool is that? This Ada is like really, really, it's still like really stiff. So it's hard to get the needle through to make this pin stitch. There was a question about the loop starts being bad for the thread, and the reason that they're bad for thread is thread actually has a grain. If you run your fingers, like if you pinch a piece of thread in between your fingers and run it through your fingers, you can actually feel it has direction. I'll show you what I mean. Like if you pull it out like this and you run your fingers down it, right now I'm going up the grain, and I can feel it because it's kind of rough. And I feel it go this way and it's real smooth. And it pulls through real easily. When you loop start, you're having the grain go two different directions. And so it's actually bad on your thread to do that. So you want to have your grains going the same direction so it pulls through smoother. Ideally, you want your grain going, so when you pull it through, it's going down the grain, but that's way, way more effort than I'm willing to put in. So there's my first stitch. Woohoo! First stitch is done. Yay, there it is. Little stitch. And I don't think I can take a picture while I'm streaming, or I would take a picture to post on the George Washington group. So I'm going to cut my tail. Bye-bye. Oh, I buried my... There we go. So this pattern is like, it's nice and big compared to like a Heaven and Earth pattern. It's only 42 columns across instead of 80. So it's actually like really easy to read. I'm not used to this. I'm used to my patterns being really hard to see. And I'm sorry if I go quiet, it's because I'm counting. I can't do two things at once. I will mess up one of them, if not both. And it's really hard to two-handed stitch with a frame this big, but I'll make it work. I've actually gotten like really used to two-handed stitching recently, and I never used to do that at all. And on Beauty and the Beast, with a flap stand that I have for it, it's actually way easier. So I'm like starting to get used to it. Oh, remember what I said about I can't do two things at once? I almost just massively screwed up. I need to find a solid color section. This is not very solid color because it's like the top of a wave goes like kind of like right here, I think. But that's all right. I'll make it work. It'll be fine. I already have a knot in the back. What the heck? There we go. And my roommate's going to be coming home like any minute. So there may be like a lot of noise when she comes in. I really wish I could get a better angle on this. Like, I don't know. I'm going to try moving my phone a little. That didn't work. That didn't move at all. Let's try that again. There we go. Maybe a little better? No, it's not really any better. Oh, well. That's why I don't normally work on these big pieces when I'm doing a stitch with me. They're just really hard to get a good angle on. But look at that, I got 5 stitches in. Out of like 200,000. Woo! We have 5 years to finish this project. And I think there's been a lot of people who have broken down like how fast you have to stitch to make the time limit. And I think it's like 218 stitches a day or something like that, which is a really reasonable amount if you stitch every day. I do not stitch every day. I do work. I do have 2 part-time jobs. Well, I say I have jobs. I am actually self-employed in the winters, which I think I've talked about before. I know I've talked about it. I've talked about it in some of my regular flosstube videos that I'm self-employed. I drive for Lyft and Uber and DoorDash. I like driving, it's fun. And in the summers, I work in an amusement park. So I stitch when I can. It is not every day, but it is pretty frequently. This is not a piece I can take with me when I travel or when I'm driving. I have little travel projects that I take with me when I go places. I do a lot of traveling, like a lot. I actually leave in a little less than 2 weeks to go to Florida for my first Disney trip of the year. We leave March 4th. It's a Sunday. We actually are driving. The airport that we fly out of is an hour away, and our flight is at 5 a.m. So we're staying at a hotel next to the airport so that we only have to get up at 4 a.m. and not 2 a.m. Because we'll just be able to drive right next door. And for a flight that early, it's, the Columbus International Airport, it's not a big airport. So security lines basically don't exist at 5 in the morning. Plus we have TSA pre-check because we fly so much. So we just breeze right through security. It's kind of nice. Unless my roommate gets pulled for like a full body pat down. She's really talented at that. She gets pulled all the time for just everything possible. They check her bag for we always joke about, I always see in stitching groups, people asking about, oh, can you fly with stitching? And I'm always like, yeah, you can fly with stitching, you can fly with scissors, you can fly with needles, nobody cares. And it never fails. Somebody argues with me every time. Well, I heard that you can't travel with this, and I'm like, I have taken my stitching. I counted it one time. I have taken my stitching on, I think it's 60 flights in the last 3 years. Yeah, that sounds about right. It's about 20 flights a year, and I travel about 10 times a year. So I have taken my stitching on about 60 flights in the last 3 years. I always take a small pair of embroidery scissors. Always. They're in my little plastic bag that I keep my stitching in. And my needles are in there, and my little travel 8x8 Q-snap, and I put it in my backpack that I use as my personal item. I have never had that backpack pulled for additional screening. 60 flights, 60 times I've been through security. Never had that bag pulled. So the joke is, the scissors are not a problem, but I have a whole list of stuff that is. My favorite was the caramel apple. I brought home a caramel apple from Disney one time. And security really didn't know what to do with it because it scanned as if it was a liquid. It triggered their liquid sensor. They show up differently on X-ray, I guess, if they're liquids. So it shows up on X-ray as a liquid. So they pulled the bag because they thought I had, water or something in there. And then they're like, oh, it's a caramel apple. And it's like in the like shrink wrapped plastic. So they can't open it because that's not sanitary, because it's a sealed thing. So that, when they pull something, they're supposed to, swab it to make sure it's not explosive. And they're like, we don't know what to do with this because it's allowed. It's food. You are allowed to bring food. We can't tell you have to throw it away, but we can't test it because of food safety regulations. So we don't really know what to do. So we stood there, probably like a good 15 minutes while they called a supervisor to come over about this caramel apple because they didn't know what to do with it. So like that's the running joke now is that no, it was my caramel apple. It was, disguised as a bomb because security did not know how to handle it. So there's my random story for the night for you guys. I say my random story like that's the only one I'll tell. Come on, we know that's not true. This is like the longest uninterrupted section of one color so far. The confetti's not as bad as Heaven and Earth. At least not in my section. Again, I have water. So, I'm kind of like, I kind of wish I had lighter colors. Like, I kind of do wish I had the sky. That would be, nice, of course. Oops, what am I doing here? But I'm also glad that I don't have, like, faces or coats or things like that, because those would be, like, really confetti heavy. My pattern only has, I think it's 27 colors. Yeah, 27 colors. And there are some people who have like 105. So I'll take my lack of confetti, thanks. All right, I'm going to double check this here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Yay, it's the right length. So far, so good. I believe the stitcher that has George's face, like the money shot, is named Nora. And she posted her starting pictures today, and we all went, oh, you're the lucky one. You got his face. My sister-in-law is also stitching on this piece. She has a panel also. And she has somebody's crotch. So I could be stitching way worse things than water. I originally actually had I think a different panel assigned to me. Because I originally had like an oar. And then when all was said and done, I was like, oh, water. Okay. I've really got to find a better way to like hold this frame. By the way, I've had a lot of people ask me in the various forums when they see me stitching on these frames where I get them, because like you guys saw at the beginning of the video, it's 36 inches wide. It's a big dude. My brother custom makes my frames. The dowel rods are just plain dowel rods from lows. And then he custom makes the end pieces using his drill press. And he used actually the frame that my Beauty and the Beast project is on as the template for it. Sorry, you guys can see my messy floor and my Dumbo socks. Oh, they're Dumbo. I don't have my cool Olaf pants on. Usually I'm wearing like Olaf pants in my Stitch With Me videos. I have to mark where I've been. I'm losing track already. This is why I run highlighters out. I go through like a highlighter a month when I'm stitching. We were cleaning out a desk at my roommate's parents' house. And she found like a big package of highlighters. And she was like, "Don't you already have a bunch of highlighters?" I'm like, "No, you don't understand. There's a lot of highlighters." So I took those for sure. And then my grandma gave me a bunch more highlighters. And she asked me the same thing. "Don't you already have a bunch of highlighters?" There's no such thing as too many highlighters in my life. None whatsoever. Hey, speaking of said roommate, there she is. Hi. I'm streaming, just so you know. I'm streaming. We started George tonight.
That is a big piece of cloth.
Yep.
Really big piece of cloth.
Not my biggest one.
True. Very true.
It's, what, 12 inches smaller than my biggest one?
But who's counting?
Right. I haven't started that one yet. It doesn't count.
Who ordered the rain?
Not me. You see how my Camaro's parked? It's got its top down still. It wants to go out and play again.
Right. And 40 degrees is not warm enough.
And rain.
Is not dry enough.
I mean, I would drive it in 40-degree weather with the top down because I'm insane, but...
Well, we already know what you like to do for cross-stitching.
Yeah,
we already had that proof.
You know. You gonna stitch too?
Yeah.
Yay. Stitchy party!
Certainly don't want to go to sleep.
Yeah, too early for that.
Mm-hmm.
So all those people that are watching right now, how many of you are stitching at the same time? I'm just curious. Because, I mean, there's not a whole lot to watch when you're, like, watching a stitch with me, so I usually, like, listen to people talk. So that's why I'm, like, trying to keep a running commentary so that I'm not boring for the people who are watching it and stitching. Hey, Angie's working on tiramisu. I was watching your video earlier where you were showing it with all of its threads. Those are so pretty. Not really my style, but I loved all those reds in it. Like the deep reds. Those are pretty. My wedding colors were red and gold, so I like, and my car is dark red also. My Equinox. So I like the burgundy colors. I think I have worked myself to a point where I don't have anywhere to go. Oh, okay, no I do. Good.
How are there crumbs on my stitching?
Because cats. I don't know. We're gonna blame the cats.
Okay.
It's easier that way.
I'm good with blaming the cats.
Speaking of the cats. Oh, there's one of them. Where's the demon? I think she's in with Nick.
Probably.
Because she's not all up in my face. Sorry, I probably knocked stuff down when I was digging earlier. When I was trying to find my camera charger. What is this? Why is there one little truffle hanging on?
I don't know.
Right, well, you know where this little truffle is? It's going in my mouth. I've got calories today.
It's a special truffle. It was waiting for you to discover it while stitching. Mm-hmm. Or at least that's what we're going to tell ourselves, right? Mm-hmm.
I have to pick the dog hair off it.
Seriously? Ew. Stuff gets everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Sorry to be chewing in y'all's ear, but strawberry white chocolate truffle, it's worth it.
No, I don't need a stitching buddy tonight. Thank you.
Normal says, I see you are trying to stitch. Let me be in the way. Yeah, so now I've got the taste of chocolate in my mouth. Which I don't actually like chocolate. That was white chocolate, so it's like the exception. And so there's kind of a funny story about that truffle and the whole bag of them that's on the floor. I'm only allowed to have like one a day. I have to be careful. But they're white chocolate, strawberry cream, Linder truffles. And they apparently only come out at Valentine's Day. Well, several years ago, I found a bag of them, and I bought them, and they were the most amazing thing ever. Like, I love white chocolate, and I love strawberry, and I love them together even more. And so I was like, oh my god, these are amazing, I need more. And then I went back to go get more, and they didn't have any. And then I kept looking, and I kept looking, and I kept looking, and then I met somebody whose sister works for Linder, or Lint, or whatever it is, the company that makes them. And he's like, oh yeah, let me see if I can get you some. And that's when I found out that they were Valentine's Day only. And I had been looking for them for years and never saw them. Never saw them at Valentine's Day. And then this lovely lady over here went to Kroger one day and like bought them out of them. I've got 700 truffles now. I have like a year's supply of truffles. I have to keep my husband out of them. I had to hide them because my husband kept eating them all. I'd have one, he'd have 4. I'm like, excuse me, these are not yours. Here, let me see your piece real quick before you get started.
Hang on.
Oh, are you frogging?
Just one.
Oh. Yeah, one's acceptable.
Half stitch that I started to do the wrong thing and realized it. And now it does not want to come out.
Well, that's the worst. When you're like, I should just be able to unstitch you. Why are you not unstitching?
Well, apparently I railroaded when I came back through.
Oh, and you split the previous one?
And now it's pissy at me. Well, it's the first stitch of a new row. So you would think that it would not be that much of a pain in the butt.
And yet.
Okay, you are entirely too short.
Okay. I think I'm going to tie off this thread because it's like not very long.
Oh, I see what you did. Never mind.
I'm having to get creative about tying this off because there's not very many places to run it under the back, as you can kind of see. So I'm like wiggling it around like, oh, we'll go under this stitch and then I'll go under that stitch over there, and eventually I'll get it under enough that it'll be all right. I don't know, I probably run it under more stitches than you actually need to, but I'd rather do too many than too few. There we go. Clip off that end from that pin stitch. There we go. So, last time I did a Stitch With Me video, my lovely sister over here had just started her first Heaven and Earth. And there's her progress so far. Woohoo! She's She's making progress. I made her a little Marie needle minder. He's cute. So yay. There's her progress. What did I do with that pen? Oh, it's right there. Let's not lose that. I found a thumbtack with my foot earlier. It was not very fun.
Ew. Good thing you're up to date on your tetanus shot.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely up to date on my tetanus shot. I can give you the exact date for that one.
Hey, at least you're walking now.
Yeah, I'm actually fully functional. It's nice.
But not as many excuses to just sit around and stitch now.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't stitch for like the first week because the copious amounts of painkillers, but...
Well, yeah. Don't stitch on painkillers.
Yeah, no, it would have been a hot mess. What color are you? Funky little... $37.99. That's this one. Let go. Okay, you need to go back on the card. Something else that was included in our box was these floss cards. So, yay. So I'm gonna attempt. It's all tangled up. No! Why are you tangled?
How many people are stitching in this project?
112.
Wow.
Yep. This is a lot of thread. I'm trying to get it to where it'll actually fit on here. There we go. And then this piece can go on there, and then this piece can go on there. Eventually, all my threads will be put away. These are like a nice, heavy cardboard project card. They're way better than the project cards that are with my Beauty and the Beast. That are like paper, practically, and are in tatters after working on this project for so long. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with all the thread that's left over, because there's like a lot of thread, and it feels like a waste to just throw it away. And I've always kept the threads from previous projects, I don't know, just in case. And I think I've used them like once. I used like one color. And I think I used it to like fix a pair of pants, so it wasn't even for stitching. It just happened to match. Alright, where the heck is the end of this skein? There it is.
That's when you find one of those random, like, Disney Princess bookmark patterns.
Oh yeah, and like fill it in with that.
Yep.
Could do that. Alright, now see, I'm going to be smart, and I'm going to put away this thread. Why are you not letting go? There we go. What the heck did I do? I just tangled it back up in itself. Rah! There we go. My laptop really wants me to restart it. It's quite angry with me, actually, that I haven't restarted it. Because updates. And then I keep getting griped at because my updates need to install. And I keep going, that's nice. Quit trying to restart when I'm in the middle of something. And then I forget. And the process starts all over.
Fortunately, you're on the home edition, and it won't bog down your machine nearly as bad as the Enterprise edition.
I'm pretty sure I actually am on the Enterprise edition.
Mm.
No, I'm on Home Premium, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't know, this is originally my work laptop, so... Ow. There's a light there. I'm just failing everywhere. Like, I tried to thread my needle, and I missed with one of the strands. It was pretty embarrassing. There we go. move my light back. There we go. Get back to stitching. Yay. Oh, I'm an idiot. I just almost loop started.
Your cone of black is not color fast.
What do you mean?
I mean, I can see the different sections that I've stitched based on their color in the light.
That's not from the cone not being color fast. It's from the wear on the thread.
Yeah.
As you pull it through the fabric, it's wearing the thread.
Huh.
So it'll lighten it just a little bit as you get to the end, but you only notice it under like direct bright light. That's not the direction I wanted to go with that stitch. Try again. Go back this way. There we go. Need more dark gray. Gonna be a lot of dark gray in this piece. It's like all just colors of gray. I'll have to show you guys the floss away bags with the colors in them. Because that's all they are, is dark gray. And green. There's some green. Yeah. Spice it up. Add some variety. Let's have some green. So while I'm stitching this, I feel like I should do the Crafty Curator tag that I have not done yet. And those who are in the Off the Grid Friday Off the Grid party group, or who watch Letitia, the Crafty Curator, would know about the Crafty Curator tag. And it's kind of like the Know Your Needleworker tag. It's just like a series of questions to answer for people to get to know you better. And they're kind of fun. And most people have been doing them in their Stitch With Me videos. So I think I will pull that up in another window here. I gotta find it because there's like all kinds of stuff going on Facebook right now with this project kicking off. Groups. I'm gonna find a group. You wanna answer them too?
Sure.
So you guys get 2 sets of answers. Woohoo! Just gotta find them. Search. Okay. So the Crafty Curator tag is downloading. It's a Word document. Yay. That makes it easy. Make you half size so I can keep watching comments. There we go. Okay. So, number 1. If you could wish for a person in history to be represented in a Mirabilia pattern, who would it be? And I found out earlier that somebody else had the same answer that I did, because my answer would be Michelle Obama. because I think she's a beautiful woman. I think she was a very strong first lady, and I think if she ever decided to have a career in politics, she'd kick ass at it. And I think Mirabilias tend to be, you know, very pale white women. So I'd love to see what they would do with an African American woman. And she always had such great dresses, so they could make a heck of a pattern out of that. I don't want her dresses, because her dresses were always just so gorgeous. Have any inputs? She's looking up what Mirabilia is. The second one, I have an easy answer for while she's looking up Mirabilias. Second one is, what landmark / area of the world would you love to see captured in a chatelaine? I have a really easy answer for that one, and that would be the Great Smoky Mountains. So, I'm actually gathering the materials for my first chatelaine right now. And I'm doing Polar Beauty, which is the one that's based off of, the polar landscape, and it's got the northern lights and polar bears and Arctic foxes, and it's absolutely stunningly gorgeous, and I'm going to stitch it on opalescent Lugana, and using all the called for specialty threads, which the first set of them should be arriving here next week, and that means I need to order my fabric. So seeing what she was able to do with the polar landscape and making it just unbelievably gorgeous. I used to live in the Smoky Mountains. I lived in Sevierville, Tennessee. I used to hike the Smokies all the time. They're kind of like my second home. So I can imagine what a gorgeous pattern could be made out of this Great Smoky Mountains. You have any ideas on that one?
You're getting very, very far outside of my realm of experience and patterns.
I had never heard of a chatelaine until a month ago. Never heard of them, never seen one. And then Emma, Stitch M, was working on hers, and she mentioned, how grateful she felt to have 2 chatelaines. Because, most people don't even have one, and I was watching her stitch on it, and I'm like, so what's this big deal about chatelaines? And I looked them up, and I'm like, oh, that's what the big deal about chatelaines is. And then, at first, I didn't think I would like any of them. I was looking through all the patterns, and I saw one that I kind of liked. But I wasn't just absolutely in love with any of them until I saw the Polar Beauty one. And then I also liked, I forget what the full name of it is, but it's the planets. I liked that one too. So I had to pick between them, and I picked Polar Beauty as my first chatelaine. Because apparently I have this thing for, large, complex projects that take years to finish, and I just keep starting them and keep starting them and keep starting them.
Well, go big or go home tends to run in our family.
Yes. So my goal is to get a couple hundred stitches into this tonight and then finish Beauty and the Beast.
How many stitches away from finished are you on Beauty and the Beast?
500 or 600. Probably about 500.
So close.
If I hadn't had so much crap to do today, it would have been done today. But I keep bumping the camera with my frame, and it's making it jiggle. Sorry. I don't know what that was. That was probably an email. This floss actually covers really nice. So like I said, this is the first time I've used Sullivan floss. And I'm liking how well the dark colors are covering. So I wasn't sure how they would with 2 strands over 18. I'm usually really picky about my coverage. Like if I was picking fabric for like a Heaven and Earth, I would not personally use 18 because two strands doesn't cover well enough for me. But again, I'm picky. Angie said that she hasn't looked at chatelaines, but there's a Tudor one, and she's obsessed with Tudors, and I think it's so fun how obsessed with Tudors she is. So she's like, well, and I'm like, yeah, that's gonna end up in her stash. Yeah, fair warning, they're not cheap. Holy crap! The list of specialty threads. You can get a kit made of them. They'll run you about $300 plus shipping from Germany. So I ordered mine from, she's not actually local to me, so she's not my LNS. She's in Michigan. Homestead Needle Arts. That's who my grandma orders all her specialty threads from for her needlepoint. So I emailed her with a list and said, can you get me these? And she's like, I sure can. She could get me everything except the beads. She couldn't give me the beads. But she got me all the specialty flosses. And saved me about $100 off the cost of a kit plus shipping. But if you want to do a chatelaine, you can always do one specialty floss at a time. Or some of them have a lot of DMC conversions in the patterns. So you can just use DMC conversions. Did you pick answers for the first two? I think she's still Googling.
I think with the first two, I don't really have answers for them because they're not things that make me want to go stitch.
Fair enough.
It took Heaven and Earth with something I really enjoy, being cats, to get me interested in stitching, and then seeing all of the variety of almost pop culture type charts. That's what it took to get me into this.
Do you know there's a black cat chatelaine?
I did not see that yet.
Yeah. There's one that's a mandala and one that's a non-mandala pattern of black cats. I really, I'm going to try to move my phone again. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to...
Did something to it.
Hey! That's a little bit better view. Look at that. Okay, so number 3. This one's not stitching related. What are the top 3 places you want to visit that you've never been to? And then the add-on is, other than New Jersey in May, of course. Okay, I don't get that comment. I'm guessing that there's some sort of retreat that I don't know about that's in New Jersey in May. That's the only thing I can come up with. So I'm sorry, I don't get the comment on that one about New Jersey in May, because if I was going to New Jersey, I'd be going to Six Flags Great Adventure. I've been there. So it's not someplace I've never been. My top 3 places I want to visit. I have been almost everywhere in the US now. There are some places I want to go back to, but I have been almost everywhere already. So I got to start looking outside the country now. I'm just going to list countries in general. There's a lot of places inside said countries, but I want to go to England, I want to go to Japan, and I want to go to Germany. Those are the top 3. So I want to go. I really want to go to England. I really want to go to London. Oddly, this is like kind of odd, like strange for me. Like shows you how strange I am. That's where I'm going with that. My dream job is to run the London Eye. I love the London Eye. I think it's the coolest thing ever. So I definitely want to go to London. But I want to go to England. I took German in college and was trying to do a study abroad in Munich. And it was very expensive. The trip itself, the living expenses and the tuition for the study abroad program was all covered by financial aid, but you had to provide, your passport, application fees, visas. There was some other fee, and then of course airfare. But it covered everything once we were over there. It covered room and board and the tuition to the school. And but even with that being covered, it was still going to be about $2,000 in expenses to get there and back. And I couldn't come up with it. So I was not able to do that study abroad program. It was a little bit depressing. I have gone back to college. I actually start classes March 12th. So there may be a study abroad in my future eventually. We shall see. You never know. Don't count it out. And then the third place was Japan. I've always wanted to go to Japan. Angie said she lived in Japan for 3 years. I've never been out of the country, so I mean, just going out of the country is kind of cool. But I studied Japanese briefly. I enjoy Japanese culture. I'm not one of those people who's like super into anime and Japanese culture, but it fascinates me nonetheless. Okay, what are your three?
I'd like to do a West Coast tour starting at the southernmost part of California and work my way all the way up to the northernmost part of Alaska that you can go to.
I haven't been to Alaska. So I've been to Southern California. I have not been to Northern California.
Mostly because I want to see a lot of the places that Mom talked about where she grew up and was going to college and whatnot, and some of the places she got to visit while she was at UC Davis. And then my second one would be Hawaii, because, well, why
Hawaii.
not? And it's got a really nice observatory, astronomy. For those of you that are not into astronomy, one of those nice big places where you can see the stars forever, and they've got a good telescope and things like that. And my third one would have to be London. Because
why are we not planning a trip there?
Because neither one of us have passports yet.
We're slackers. Because we keep going to Disney.
Disney's just, well,
Disney.
fun.
It's now, Disney.
Where else can you wear a tiara and people don't look at you like you're crazy?
The best part, though, is it's not just that you can wear a tiara and people don't look at you like you're crazy. You can wear a tiara and everybody goes, oh my god, I love your tiara.
Well, and the cast members greet you as princess.
Oh, yeah. Yes, that's always wonderful.
I want to know at what point they start calling you queen. What look do you have to have? Because I think I want to stay a princess forever.
I bet you if you dressed as Elsa, then you would be queen.
Will you make me an Elsa dress one of these days?
I told you I would. We've got the fabric for it. Got the fabric for anything you could want. Good God.
Crepe back satin.
We've got it in every color. An entire bolt of them.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you who didn't get to see that video, um, Hancock Fabrics basically went out of business into my craft room. It's I have quite the extensive collection of fabric. Especially when they went to when it was like 80 or 90% off everything. It was like, oh, what do they have left? That was when the velvet happened. I think it was 10 yards of black velvet. We both have black velvet capes now. You know, the kind that are like $300 if you buy them.
That was more than 10 yards, dear.
We have at least 10 yards of black
Because there were two pieces of that.
Yeah, at least 10 yards of black velvet. Like the high quality stuff that's normally like $20 a yard. We got it for like 90% off. And we literally bought everything they had. And now we have lovely black capes. Don't know when the heck I'm ever going to wear my lovely black cape. Runfest, probably.
Well, if I ever get married in the winter.
I wore a white satin cape that I made when I was a bridesmaid. And it was in October. And it was like this random cold snap. And so, like, going in and out of the building, I was, like, the unofficial greeter of the wedding. So, like, as people got there, I was, standing at the doorway of the building that we were in, and it was friggin' cold. So I was wearing my awesome white satin cape over my bridesmaid's dress. It was kind of cool. Got a lot of compliments on it. I had made it for a Halloween costume years before that. And just repurposed it. Okay, so next question. What is it that you love most about stitching? What would you miss about stitching if you could no longer do it? These may or may not be the same answer. Instant gratification. I like watching the picture come to life. I have zero art talent. I probably have negative art talent, if that's even possible. So I'm never going to paint. I'm never going to draw.
No, but you take pictures.
I do take pictures. I do that. So this is one of my creative outlets. I'm sure you guys have figured out by now that I also sew clothing. I make a lot of clothes. So Angie commented that she's never been to Disney, so ride the rides double for me. We can do that. I'll send you pictures.
Only 11 days, 7 hours, 18 minutes, and 24 seconds until we leave. Not that I'm counting.
Not that she's counting. Not that she has a countdown timer on the homepage of her phone.
I can't help it. It's for my birthday.
Yep, we leave. Like I said, we leave at like some stupid hour of the morning on Monday morning, and that's our birthday. And then we get there. And then, is that the day we have Teppanyaki?
Yes, that's the day we have Teppanyaki.
We go to Epcot, and we eat at Teppanyaki, which is the Japanese hibachi in the Japan Pavilion, and is the place that got me addicted to hibachi. Like, oh my god, my hibachi addiction is real.
I think if she didn't have it at least once a week, she'd like die of starvation.
I think I would. That's my cheat meal, like every week on my diet.
But it's good protein.
I see nothing wrong with this. So, okay, what is it I love most about this stitching? That and the satisfaction of what I'm doing. I love stitching in public. I know it's kind of weird. I especially love stitching my big pieces. Like my Beauty and the Beast has been going with me a lot of places. Like I took my grandma to get her hair done on Tuesday, and I was working on Beauty and the Beast, and everybody that came in had to come see what I was doing and had to ogle over it, and every single person was like, oh, I don't have enough patience for that. This is why I have patience. this is exactly why. Like, I developed patience as a child because I've been stitching since I was 8 because my grandma taught me. And this is how I developed patience with stitching. So I like that too. I like the satisfaction of knowing that I'm doing something a lot of people could not do because they couldn't sit still and stitch for this long. It's kind of cool. And it's also kind of cool when, like, people come in my house and they're like, you know, they think I've got paintings on my wall and they look closely and they're like, wait, that's stitched. I have to highlight. What would I miss most about stitching if you could no longer do it? My me time. The me time that I get when I'm stitching. It's just me, hanging out with me, and enjoying me. I think I just highlighted a row I haven't finished yet. I did.
As long as it's the next row you're about to do.
It is.
It should be fine.
Do you want to answer that one?
Well, as a brand new stitcher, literally this is the first
Crap.
project
I forgot
of
to
any
cross.
meaning. I did one other small,
those two.
very small little owl from a kit like ages ago. And so I'm jumping in with a Heaven and Earth design. As we said, go big or go home. I like that I'm focused on one thing and it's clearing my head and quieting all the chaos up there. Because I'm one of those that tends to overthink things and dwell on things and beat them to death in my head, and the stitching I have to focus on something else. I would miss that quiet. I would miss that focus, I think. We'll see after I finish my first Heaven and Earth if that answer changes, but that's what I get out of it so far.
Number 5, what was the last movie that made you cry? That's an unfair question. I cry at everything. I am my mother's child. I think I've explained, yeah, I have. I've explained to you guys that we are not biological sisters. So when I refer to my mom and she refers to her mom, they are two different people. But we're sisters of the heart. That's what matters.
Well, we grew up together.
Yeah, we grew up together and we're sisters of the heart. So, but my mom was a giant marshmallow. When me and my brother were kids, we made fun of her all the time because she literally cried at everything. Like Beauty and the Beast, she was bawling. Lion King, she was bawling. I was not like that until like the last 5 or 6 years, and now I am just like her. And I cry at everything, and it's really annoying. So the last movie that I cried at was the last movie that I watched in theaters, which was Star Wars: The Last Jedi. And spoiler alert, mute it if you haven't watched it. The scene where is she an admiral that sacrifices herself to save the people? General, yeah, admiral. She's either an admiral or a general. That moment of silence immediately after that was people pick on that movie a lot and how overdone some of the effects were and stuff like that, but that was one of the most powerful effects I've ever seen in a movie. That just moment of pure silence. So I definitely cried at that. We're going to go see Black Panther tomorrow. Wouldn't be surprised if I cried at that. Don't know what I'll cry at. There's probably nothing sad in the movie, but there'll be like some particularly beautiful scene and I'll start crying because that's what I do. I cry at concerts. Like, oh my god, that music was so beautiful. It's ridiculous. I was not like this when it happened. I'm a Gemini. I'm very much a Gemini. Do you have an answer for that one?
I don't remember the last movie I cried at.
Show off.
No, I just don't remember. I know that I cry at movies. I cry at movies frequently. I just don't remember that I did specifically.
Cried at Thor Ragnarok. The end of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one particular movie that will make me ugly cry. Like, I mean, I was watching it one night. I couldn't sleep, and it was like 4 a.m, and I was sitting on my couch, and I was watching it with Brother Bear. If you guys haven't seen it, I think it's on Netflix. It used to be on Netflix, but it's like a forgotten Disney movie. And I've watched Brother Bear, and I've watched Brother Bear 2. I have a friend who's a Disney animator, and he was one of the animators on that movie. So I wanted to watch it because it was his work. And I was sobbing. Like, there's no other word for it. I was sobbing. It was like the whole movie. It wasn't one part. I just cried through the whole freaking thing. It was bad. It was terrible. I'm like sitting on the couch with like a pile of tissues going, it's so gone. It's ridiculous. At least I find it funny afterwards. I ended up giving myself a headache watching that movie because I was crying so hard.
Ow.
It was ridiculous. I'm like, why am I crying so hard at this movie?
So you're not going to show it to me anytime soon?
No, because I'll cry the entire time. It's a good movie, though. It was a really good movie. I liked seeing Lon's. I love watching mid-90s Disney movies. And watching the credits and seeing a name that I know. That's so fun. So if you're ever watching a Disney movie from the mid-90s that's hand-drawn animation, look for Lon Smart. Lon Smart. He's a friend of mine. And now he animates stuff for the parks now. If any of you have been to Disney and you watched at Hollywood Studios, there used to be, I don't even remember what the heck it was called, but it was these little movie clips talking about how characters were, like, where the ideas for them came from and how they were animated and how they were drawn, and then, you know, it's like the characters themselves talking, and then there's a cast member there, you know, presenting all of this. And I saw the one of Mushu from Mulan with Lon, and he drew that entire thing. Oops, I just hit my camera. And it was really cool. Afterwards, he went up and was talking to the cast member, and he's like, you know, I haven't actually watched this since I drew it. And the cast member was like, what? He was so blown away by the fact that he just met the animator that drew that sequence. That was kind of cool. And Lon's really fun when he goes to other amusement parks, because that's how I met him, because he's a coaster enthusiast. He goes to other amusement parks a lot to do research on theming and environmental elements and stuff. And he has the habit of overthrowing caricature artists. Like, you know, the ones that are like, you know, they'll draw your caricature for, you know, $10 or whatever. And he will draw them their favorite Disney character on their caricature pad. He loves doing that. It's so fun to see. So, like, I have a picture of him doing that at Cedar Point. And the poor girl was, like, having a complete meltdown because this Disney animator was drawing for her. So, okay. Moving right along. Tell me a joke. I don't think you guys want me to tell you a joke.
We'll both skip telling jokes.
I say that because my husband's a really bad influence on me in the joke area. So all my jokes are really, really awful. They're like really cheesy. I'm trying to come up with one that's easy and corny.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Orange.
Orange who?
Knock, knock.
Oh god, here we go.
And I screwed it up already, and this is why I don't tell jokes. See?
Okay, I'll tell a couple of my jokes. What did the fish say when it ran into the wall? Damn. What do you call a fish with no eyes? A fish. What do you call a deer with no eyes? No idea. What do you call a deer with no eyes and no legs? She's face palming over here. What do you call a deer with no eyes and no legs? Still no idea. Okay, so there's my lame jokes for the night. You're welcome.
Wow.
I do not have a future as a comedian.
No. Please.
Please, for the love of God, save us all.
Retire the no idea.
But I love the no idea.
I know. You use it for everything.
It's funny. What do you call a cow with no legs? Ground beef. Okay, I have to fix these stitches that I forgot to cross because that was like the biggest fail ever. How do you forget to cross things? It's cross stitch. It's ridiculous. Okay, so next question. If you could be any animal or insect, what would you be and why? I'd be a leopard. Why? I don't know. I just love leopards. They're pretty. And they're graceful. And they can jump in trees. I'd be a black leopard because
so you'd be a melanistic leopard.
A what?
A melanistic leopard. That's a black leopard, dear.
Oh, okay.
I learned that from a Sherlock fan fiction.
I mean, sure, why not?
Because Sherlock, of course he knows what the proper terminology for a black leopard
I know the scientific name for a leopard. It's Panthera pardus.
Mm-hmm.
Aha! I knew something random. So, probably like the Sherlock fan fiction that I nerded out over the most was when they were talking about the body farm at UT. Anthropology nerd!
Yep. That you are, my dear.
Okay, so what would you be?
A common house cat.
So you can sleep all day?
Pampered, spoiled, well-loved, with my sunbeams and my full bowl of food, and never having to worry about where my next meal's coming from or where I'm going to sleep. And then I'd, get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and tear around the house for no reason.
Oh, so you'd be Candy.
Just about every cat on the planet does that.
And Normal got fat and old. And lazy. He's over here asleep. I can poke him with my frame. I can just be like,
If you
poke.
disturb the and tries to sleep on me while I'm stitching, I will beat you, woman, with your own frame.
I beat Nick with it earlier. He was being annoying, and he's like, usually when I'm annoying, you finish when you're doing something, you finish what you're doing and then beat me with it. I'm like, this is a really big frame. Are you sure you want that?
Glutton for punishment?
He was being annoying while I was working on something. He knew it was coming. He did it anyway. I don't know what I just did to my thread.
So what's the next question?
Say something that you love about 2 random floss tubers and why we should watch them. Well, she doesn't watch floss tube, so.
Nope.
Well, one of my favorite floss tubers is watching right now. Hi, Angie. I like watching her because she's so much like me. That's why I like watching all her videos, because I'm like, oh my god, she's so much like me. She even has a doggy like mine. She has a German Shepherd. Who else? I'm gonna say... I just pulled out my pin stitch. Because I had a knot.
Aww.
Who else am I gonna say? By the way, Angie is Crafty Angie, and it's Crafty with a... or Angie with an I. Crafty Angie. So go watch her. She's fun. And then the person who actually got me into watching FlossTube is Emma. And she's Stitch M. I mentioned her earlier. She's working on a Chatelaine. And I'm sure she knows this because she's mentioned it before. That other people have said this to her. She has the cutest accent I've ever heard. Hi, hubby. She lives in England. And I just love watching her videos because I love listening to her talk. And she has she makes really awesome facial expressions. So when she like is telling stories, they're hilarious. They're even funnier because of the facial expressions she makes. So there's my floss tube love.
Yay. Next question?
Next question. I almost pulled my pin stitch out again. Oh my lord. You can tell I'm not used to starting with these. I usually do mine on the horizontal, but I'm trying diagonal ones for the first time. And they're not going well. Okay, if you found that you were suddenly unable to stitch, what would you do with your stash? Does anyone in your family know what to do with it if you couldn't advise them? Nick, what are you doing with my stash? Eerie silence.
What about cheese?
What? What are you? If I couldn't stitch, if I got in a car accident tomorrow, what would you do with all my stitching stuff? He's giving me a really blank look.
I would probably let your grandma figure out what to do with it.
I'd say that's a safe answer. You know who else could figure out what to do with it? Stacy.
She would be my plan B.
I am my grandma's de-stash? I don't know. De-stasher, I guess? I don't know. She's already told me I'm inheriting all her stitching stuff and get to figure out what to do with it.
Give me a few years and I can be instructed on what to do with it.
Yeah. You're getting there.
Actually, I will go through it first and see what I need for my other Heavenly Arts and my Nini Thomas. And then we can distribute it.
Speaking of my grandma and her stash, my grandma can't cross stitch anymore. She can't see it. So I keep inheriting her stash. Like every time I come home from my grandma's house, I have more craft stuff. But recently she gave me all of her DMC floss. And I combined it with my DMC floss. And I now have, I'm pretty sure, a full line. I haven't double checked, but I've got 5 boxes of bobbins of DMC floss. She's where I learned it from. The hoarding and the stitching. D, all of the above. She had a health scare recently and kind of had her moment of telling us what to do with everything after she dies. So she asked us if there was any furniture that we wanted of hers. I claimed her craft table. She has this huge, like, it's at least 8 feet long, solid oak table that she does all her stitching on.
Another solid oak thing.
My grandma has a thing for solid oak stuff. But it's a solid oak, humongous table. It has 2 leaves in it. And it's the table that always sat. I grew up in with my grandma. My mom and I lived with my grandma when I was growing up. So it sat in the dining room. And it is where I learned to stitch. And I would sit on one end and grandma would sit on the other end. And we would sit there and listen to the radio and stitch. And so I think I screwed up. Oh no, I'm not counting the right spot. That's why. So I have lots of fond memories of sitting at that giant oak table. And the reason my husband is griping about the table, I have this desk. It's a solid oak Amish built roll top desk that was built in the 70s. And it's my grandmother's desk. And when she moved from our house into a senior apartment, which was only like 700 square feet, she was, paring down and asked again, hey, does anybody want any of this stuff? And she had, bookshelves and entertainment centers and stuff like that. My brother took the entertainment center. And I said, I want the desk. I don't want anything else. I don't care about anything else. I will fight all of my cousins. Line them up one at a time. I will fight them for that desk. She's like, okay, you can have the desk. So this thing weighs like a good 500 pounds. Since I inherited that roll top desk, we have moved. It never made it to the apartment. I don't think it ever... No, it didn't make it to the apartment. Because I lived in a second floor apartment, and I don't think it actually made it to the apartment. I think it got brought down when we bought our house. Because that was when she moved, was when we lived in our house in Tennessee. And it was just... it was a one-floor house, so it wasn't as big a deal. But, we've moved twice since I got that desk. Twice? No, once. We've only moved once. Unless it was in our apartment. I forgot what my stitch is. There we go. And my husband griped about it the entire time. Because he got to carry it. him and my brother carried it out of the house. And then him and my brother and a friend of ours carried it into this house. And he has told me before that if we ever move again, well, when we move again, because we're not living here forever, when we move again, the desk is going in the closest room to the front door. Love my desk. So, ran off on a bunny trail again. Do that to steal Angie's phrase on a bunny trail. So what
What's the question?
Yeah. The question was what to do with your stash, and does anyone know what to do with your stash if you couldn't stitch?
Darling, you're the only one that knows what to do with this stuff, so guess what you get to deal with when I die.
Let's be real, your stash is my stash.
Funny how that works.
Like let's just be real here. Our stash is shared.
Yup.
Let's see. Hey, we're through the first page. Yay. Next question is, what was your stitching like before social media became inundated with cross-stitching? Did you stitch less? Did you stitch more? Did you even have such a thing as a rotation? I still don't have a rotation. I follow if you guys haven't watched Stitch M, you won't get this, but I follow the Sweewee ideal. Stitch what you want when you want.
Ooh, that sounds good.
So I don't have a rotation. I just stitch on what calls to me. And occasionally actually finish things. As far as what was my stitching like before social media, my stash was significantly smaller. My works in progress stash was significantly smaller. And then I found Heaven and Earth. And then I found... Y'all are a bunch of enablers. Like, that's out of control. Yeah, I stitch more. Like, I really do. I stitch a lot more than I used to. I make a lot more progress. I sit down more evenings. We call it losing your stitchy bug. When I lose my stitchy bug, I get it back a lot faster. Part of the reason that Beauty and the Beast has been taking me 6 years now is the number of times that I just stopped stitching on it because I just stopped stitching altogether.
A billion French knots had nothing to do with that.
No, it really didn't. It's really, there were just days that I didn't. I mean, there was times that I went months without stitching. And I mean, even now, there's times that I go a long time. Like, I may just not stitch for 2 or 3 weeks, especially in the summers when I'm busy. I just don't have time. But I would say I definitely stitch more often. I definitely buy more stuff. Thanks, guys.
Yep.
All of the above, D.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she didn't stitch at all before a couple weeks ago, so...
I did this one little teeny tiny owl in Girl Scouts. If the thing was 100 stitches, I'd be surprised. And that was like eons ago. Came from our what used to be our local needlecraft shop called Daisy Barrel in downtown Fairborn.
I miss Daisy Barrel.
That was the place if you wanted quilting supplies or needlework. And Mom went in there all the time because she used to cross stitch. And I always thought that the patterns were boring, or there really wasn't anything interesting to stitch. They had maybe 5 Disney patterns at that.
That's where my Tigger pattern I made for Stacy came from.
And probably
Daisy
your
Barrel.
Tweety.
Yes. They came out of the same book, I'm pretty sure. No.
Yeah, and no.
No, it was, I made a Wile E. Coyote. That's what it was. I knew I made a second one of that.
Yeah. But, I always thought that cross-stitching was something old people did. And the patterns were boring, so why would I bother? Oh, if I had only known then that I would be sitting here today working on a heaven and earth. Go big or go home.
Speaking of Daisy Barrel, I always remember as a kid, I loved their floss drawers. They had
Yes.
a stack of drawers that was as a kid, they were taller than me, of DMC floss, and it was 2 layers deep. I remember that very clearly. And you'd pull out the drawer, and there was just that rainbow of colors. And I loved it when Grandma would be like, "Oh, can you find this color and this color and this color for me?" And that was the best part of going to Daisy Barrel.
Mill Hill seed beads
Oh yeah.
on the spinning racks.
Yep. Those were fun too. I just liked looking at those. And I liked spinning the spinning racks to look at patterns. Hey, look, here's my Dumbo sock again. Ha ha ha, Dumbo.
They had the really, really tall pull-out and flop back and forth almost like a cafe door displays of patterns.
Yep. And I always looked at all the patterns. And that's when I found the Tweety bird. I was obsessed with Tweety as a kid. Oh my gosh, everything I wore was Tweety. And so, I found this Tweety bird pattern, and I asked my grandma if she'd show me how to make it. And that was when it all began. And so it began. Oh, you can kind of see Beauty and the Beast hiding back there. It's right there. It's almost done. It's so close. Okay. As I was going here. Do you find that cross-stitching on social media has helped you stay focused or caused you to become distracted? If it has helped you to stay focused, how do you manage to stay active on social media and still be productive in your stitching? If it has distracted you from your stitching, what have you done to get back on track with your stitching but still remain active in the community? Well, I already mentioned before that, oh my god, you guys are enablers. So it distracts me in that I stitch everything now, rather than just one thing. I'm really, really bad about getting distracted by Facebook when I'm stitching. So that's actually why I started watching FlossTube videos. Because I'm less likely to wander off and read Facebook while I'm watching a FlossTube video. So I will stitch while I say watching, but I'm usually just listening. I think that's why I like Emma so much, because I love listening to her voice. Angie, I watch you. You're hard to stitch with, because I like looking at everything you do. Because you show all your patterns, and I'm like, ooh, that's pretty. Ooh, that's pretty. But there are a lot of people who do more talking than stitching. Another one that does a lot of talking is Buckeye Stitcher, Nicole. And she's actually local to me. She's down in Cincinnati. She does a lot of talking, so she's really easy to stitch with, too. So, yes, social media is holy crap distracting. Because I will watch it. Or I will get distracted and read Facebook on my phone. So it's actually kind of good that right now I'm actually streaming on my phone. Because I can't be on Facebook if I'm streaming from my phone. And I'll realize that I'm like, oh, I haven't stitched in 30 minutes because I've been reading Facebook.
Oopsie.
And as far as distracting me from stitching, other than, reading it, other than it just being, it's not a matter of staying active, distracting me from it. I can still stay active. I love posting pictures of my work. I love posting on Instagram. I love scrolling through Instagram. I love seeing pictures of other people's work. So that doesn't distract me from... What on earth do I have this like fuzzy? There we go. That doesn't distract me from my work. It's just... I'll be like scrolling through my news feed, just like all my friends and stuff, and be like, what am I doing? Why am I reading Facebook? So like, occasionally I'll put my phone in another room just so that it doesn't distract me. Because like I'll get the notification about I'll get a notification from Facebook, and I go down that rabbit hole instead. How about you? Do you find it distracting?
No, I'm either stitching or I'm Facebooking. I don't tend to mix the two because it takes all of my focus on the stitching. But while I'm sitting at work waiting for phone calls, I may be guilty of spending a lot of time in the Heaven and Earth group looking at everybody else's stitchings and the accidental over purchasing during sales and how'd that get in my cart?
Oh, how'd those 10 get in my cart? Wait, what?
And
not that has happened.
I'm enjoying seeing the progress that other people are making and amazed at how fast other people stitch, and it kind of makes me want to stitch more than I did when I very first started. So not necessarily distracting. I just get off work and I'm more inclined to want to stitch now.
Yeah.
Slightly. No, I don't need a stitching buddy. Thank you.
Normal's trying to invite himself again. But I would say Facebook, like the communities that I'm active in, like especially the Heaven and Earth, seeing people making progress and seeing how beautiful these pieces are when they come together makes me want to stitch on mine. So I'm more likely, like, when I've been focused on Beauty and the Beast, I'm like, I really want to get back to one of my Heaven and Earths. Because I've got one that I've got 4 pages finished on, and I'm making progress pretty quickly on it. I'm like, oh, I can't wait till I'm that person posting the, like, half-completed one. Because those are always just so stunning.
Which one's your 4-pager?
That one's Wisdom. The Ravenclaw Crest.
4 pages out of how many?
30? Okay. 32 maybe? Let's see.
Next question.
I have a t-shirt that says cross-stitching saved my life once. Tell us about a time when cross-stitching saved your life or someone else's. This is going to be kind of a dark answer. Cross-stitching is what I do when my depression's really bad. Well, not like, you know, there comes a point where my depression gets so bad that I don't stitch. That's when I'm in trouble. That's when I'm in serious trouble. But it definitely, like, I have extremely bad depression. And I go through extremely, extremely bad down periods. I mentioned in a previous video that I lost one of my best friends in a very traumatic way a year and a half ago. And shortly after that, I went through one of the worst periods of depression in my life. And part of what brought me out of that was actually stitching. So I finally got to a point where I could do it again. Because anybody who has depression understands that, you know, you lose interest in things that you love. And for me, that is stitching when it gets really bad. So once I got to the point where I could actually, you know, get out of bed, I kind of like got absorbed in my stitching and I didn't want to do anything else. Didn't want to talk to anybody else. Didn't want to, I was like, nope, just let me stitch.
Yep.
So, like I said, it's kind of a dark answer, but it's true. It really is. So, it saves my sanity and therefore saves my life. She hasn't been stitching long enough to have an answer for that one, has she? It saves her sanity, so therefore it saves her life. She questions her sanity daily.
Yes.
She's threading a needle. That's why she's not talking. She had thread in her mouth.
Next question.
Next question. If you were to look at your stash and the types of patterns that you have collected, what would your cross stitch say about you? Are you dark and dramatic, warm, cuddly, and cute, whimsical and magical, primitive with a love of old-fashioned, colorful, adventurous, or not easily defined? I love bright colors. Most of my pieces are very colorful. I think the exclusion of that is my wisdom piece. You would know that I love Disney because, oh my god, the amount of Disney patterns I have. It's out of control. Everything about my stash is out of control. But yeah, I have a lot of Disney patterns. So you would know that I love Disney. You would know that I love Harry Potter. Because I have 2 Harry Potter pieces in progress right now, and I just finished another one. I would say mine is colorful and adventurous and not easily defined. Because I tend to stitch really large. I like the photorealistic type patterns. I don't like primitives. I don't like primitives at all. They're just not me. I see a lot of people stitching primitives. They're very popular. And there's nothing wrong with that. They're just not me at all. In any way, shape, or form. I like mine to be a lot more bright and colorful. I like nerdy things. Because I like a lot of the Disney stuff and Harry Potter stuff. And I recently stitched a horror movie one for a friend of mine.
That was funny. Tell them what it was.
Oh, I can show it in here. I'll show it in my flosstube video, but it's from Friday the 13th. And it's for a friend of mine named Jason. And he loves Jason Voorhees. So he loves horror movies and he loves Friday the 13th. So I made him a little Friday the 13th thingy. And it's cute. It says welcome to Camp Crystal Lake. It has a Jason mask on it. And I haven't been able to share progress photos of it since it started actually taking shape because he does follow me on Instagram. He does not follow me here though, so I can talk about it. But I finished that. That was my second finish of the year. I'm actually finishing things. It's been a while. I only finished one thing last year, and that was my little Ravenclaw crest, so it's exciting that I've actually already finished 2 projects this year, and I'm about to finish a 3rd. And it's only February. That's, like, insane. And then here I go starting another humongous one.
That's going to take you how many years to finish?
5 if we're lucky. Well, I'd like to finish it sooner than that, but we'll see. We've got 5 years to finish it. I mean, I'm making good progress tonight. So I think every time I take a progress picture of this, it's just going to be black. Because the colors don't show up very well because it's just 2 different colors of gray. It's like, well, it is what it is. What would yours say about you? That she likes black cats.
Whimsical and fun. Because I have a lot of fairies, magic, and a ton of black cats. Lisa Parker is my new best friend because she has so many black cat patterns on Heaven and Earth. And I've also got a lot of the Nini Thomas charts, some of which were originally charted by Heaven and Earth, and then some of them Nini has done herself. All these fairies. So pretty. And, okay, there might be some cats with the fairies.
If it has a black cat, we probably own it.
And there are some charts that I have purchased that are very large charts, but I only intend to stitch the cats out of them.
Yep. Hey, last question. Name something that was the telltale sign that you were addicted to cross stitch without hope of redemption. What was your aha moment? When I had 3 Heaven and Earths in progress and was contemplating starting a 4th. And now I'm contemplating starting a 5th. And I'm like, this is a problem. And then I looked at my Google Drive folder and went, what the hell? My Google Drive folder, I showed it in one of my previous videos. That's just like packed full of heaven and earth. It's worse now because they've had a sale since then, so we've added quite a bit more to it. So yeah, that was my aha moment, was when I realized, holy crap. Because like the first heaven and earth, I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. This is such a crazy project. Like, it was such a big deal. And then I started a second one. And then I started a third one. And then I went, what am I doing? Stash exceeds. What is it? Stash acquired beyond life expectancy. I think I'm like 4 or 5 life expectancies at this point.
So what you don't finish, I will have to tackle. And Stacy will have to tackle.
I'm just going to point out that both of you are older than me.
Not by much, woman. Hey, she's older than I am. So
Yep.
there, too.
Yep. This has been a running joke for years. She is 3 months older than me. My husband is 4 months older than me. And my sister-in-law is also 4 months older than me. So I'm the youngest by a few months. And then we have another good friend that's only 2.5 weeks older than me. And the best thing to have ever happened was when we were sitting at dinner one day. And it was her and my husband and me, and we were sitting at dinner talking about, and Nick made some kind of joke about me being old. And I was like, I'm the only one at this table that's still in my 20s. Because it was in like May and they had both turned 30 already, and it was wonderful.
Oh, I remember that one.
That was like the greatest achievement, when I was like, I am still in my 20s. So I was still 29. And now I'm 32. Time. Where did it go?
I tell ya, I turned 30 and time went out the window.
It did. What the hell am I doing? That is not where that goes. That is not where that goes at all.
It's funny, you said, what am I doing? And my first internal thought was, probably something you're not supposed to be doing.
I mean, that's kind of how I live my life.
Certainly makes things interesting.
What was your aha moment? She laughs.
When there was a heaven and earth sale, and who had just barely started my first heaven and earth, already had a cart full of 20 charts to buy. Yeah. I see this being a thing.
At least you still only have one start. Give it time. I hear my husband cackling in the other room. He calls this our stitch and bitch time and doesn't want to get involved.
He's a very smart man.
Yep. What am I... Where I go highlighting? I haven't stitched yet. What am I doing? This thread is shredding. I think I need to cut my next length a little shorter. My thread's starting to fray. I tend to stitch with really long lengths because I'm lazy and I don't like starting threads.
So, add on another question. Of everything in your stash, what is the one project you are most looking forward to starting that you have not done so yet?
Well, that's easy. I have it right here. Come here. I do. That one.
Evolutions?
Yep. That one.
The one that's the size of a small child?
I mean, yeah. But I mean, look at these colors. Look at these colors. Oh, they're so pretty. It's gonna be so colorful. I'm gonna tent stitch that bad boy. Twice as fast, half as much work. I've never tent stitched before. I did not know that was an actual channel name, The Real Cross Stitch Housewives. I'd seen the Stitch and Misfits. Angie says that we should do combo videos with both of us. The floss tube videos. There's a couple floss tubers that do like 2 of them together.
Oh.
Like some of them are mom and daughter, and some of them are like just friends and stuff like that. I think it's Stitch and Misfits. I think that's here in Ohio. They're in Cincinnati. Because Buckeye Stitcher talks about them, and they actually like met up for lunch one time. And then Weasley Studios, which is 2 guys in Indianapolis, are also not far away.
Wait, guys do cross stitch?
I know! It's great. Well, one of them cross stitches and one of them knits.
You had that question about social media and cross stitch.
Mm-hmm.
There's something.
You didn't know guys cross stitch?
Yeah. And I think a lot of guys would never admit to it without social media.
Right.
Seeing other guys do it.
We have at least one male stitcher that's working on George Washington. And he's a flight attendant, and he stitches on his flights all the time. Were you with me on the flight where I had the flight attendant talking to me about it?
I was asleep.
Okay. I couldn't remember if that was the American flight that I took without you or not.
No. That was Southwest.
But yeah, I had a male flight attendant that saw me stitching on my Ravenclaw crest and stopped to talk to me because he was a stitcher. And he thought it was so cool to see another stitcher on the plane.
Nifty. I'm assuming you're stitching when we fly to Disney?
God, yes. I'll be taking Harry Potter. My
Well,
little travel project.
there's stitching, and then there's the option for sleeping since we're leaving at ungodly hours.
I can't sleep on... I almost never sleep on the plane. I have to be, like, super, super tired to sleep on the plane. And I think I kind of, like... I think that time that I was asleep when the plane landed kind of broke me for sleeping on planes. Because I thought I was going to die. Yeah, fair warning, you guys. If you fall asleep on a plane, wake up before it lands. That was the most unpleasant experience of my life.
Okay, so it was a rough landing. A little hard.
I was literally dreaming that I was in a car, and then we landed it with, and in the dream it was a car crash and scared the crap out of me awake, and like... So I had that like wake up moment where your heart's going like 8 million miles an hour because the plane landed.
She legitimately jumped
I
out
did.
of her skin
I did.
and almost out of her seatbelt.
I did. Like to the point that the other person in the row was like, "Are you okay?" Yeah, I'm fine. I haven't slept on a plane since then. Not well.
Whereas, give me a pillow pet, a set of headphones, and I am out.
Yeah, I usually have to like poke her, like, "Hey, do you want a drink?" Or like, "Hey, we're about to land."
I kind of want to take my stitching with me to Disney, but realistically, I know I won't stitch.
I never stitch while we're there.
Well, I will be asleep going both ways.
Yeah. I usually don't stitch while we're there. I stitched some when we were there for the hurricane, though.
Well, yeah.
Because we had downtime. We had, an entire day where there was really nothing to do. So
Can we plan another hurricane Disney trip?
that was awesome. I don't think I've told that story on here, so you guys get to hear my hurricane story. So we have this tendency to fly into Category 5 hurricanes. It's happened 2 years in a row now. First it was Matthew in 2016.
Yep.
Yeah, 2016. So we were going down for mine and my husband's anniversary, which is October 7th. And we were supposed to be going to... Pretty sure we were supposed to be at Magic Kingdom that day. Almost positive we were supposed to be at Magic Kingdom that day. We had all these awesome plans for what we were going to do on our anniversary. And so the 3 of us go down. For our anniversary, we were staying at Boardwalk in a club level suite, which was like, oh my god, amazing. And around the time that we were about to head out to go down there, they started predicting that Matthew was going to go up the coast of Florida. Because it was originally supposed to go under Florida and go out into the Gulf. And then they were like, oh, nope, just kidding, it's going to go north. And they were like, it's gonna skirt along the coast. And we're like, oh, okay, so we're gonna, we'll get the outer edge of it. No big deal. And then when we were down there, they changed that prediction to, oh, by the way, it's gonna make like a direct hit on Orlando. They said it was gonna come in at Titusville and come straight across the state like Hurricane Charlie did. We're like, well, crap. So, we're already down there at this point. We're like, you know what? Screw it. We're going to ride it out. What other choice do we have? It's a hurricane, It's inland. It's not going to be that bad.
I have a problem.
Inland. What? Did you lose your needle?
Yeah. In my lap.
Oh, you'll find it the hard way. Use your needle minder.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
Oh. Normal's just looking at you like you're stupid.
If I'm not careful, I'm pretty sure I'm going to sit on it.
You will. I say this as the voice of experience.
You're not helping.
I know.
Anyway,
so Hurricane Matthew is predicted to make a direct hit on Orlando, and it's going to be terrible, and they decided that they were going to go ahead and close everything preemptively, including Disney, for the, I believe, 4th time in the history of ever.
Yep. There we go.
3 of them have been because of hurricanes, and once was September 11th. So, 2 other hurricanes. I remember one was Charlie, which was a really bad hurricane. And then,
Charlie, Andrew.
No, they didn't close for Andrew. Andrew hit Miami.
Not that close to Andrew.
No, they didn't close for the first time until the 2000s. Or maybe there was one in the 90s, but, So we're, like I said, we're down there, minding our own business, getting hit by a hurricane. And I decided to stay up and take videos of this hurricane coming in, because I'm like, when am I ever going to see a hurricane again? By the way, the answer was next year. So I took videos of this hurricane coming in, and at the last minute, it turned. And instead of coming inland, just went up the coast and caused all kinds of havoc up in the Carolinas instead. So then we were at Disney and bored because it was closed and nothing happened. We got a little bit of wind, little tiny bit of rain, but really nothing happened in Florida from Matthew. Stop trying to restart my computer. Stop it. So the next year, oh, by the way, the parks closed for a day and a half. They closed at 5 o'clock on October 6th and all day on October 7th, aka our anniversary. That sucked. And then since nothing actually happened, they went ahead and lifted the curfew at like noon on the 7th, and some friends of mine that live in Orlando called me and were like, do you still have a Busch Gardens season pass? Well, I sure do. So we went to Busch Gardens instead, which is in Tampa, about an hour away. So we still had fun on our anniversary. We went to Busch Gardens instead. But
Left me in the hotel room on hold with Southwest and Disney Vacations for 5 hours.
we offered.
Waiting to talk to somebody.
We offered to take her, but we were going for Hallow Scream, their Halloween event, which is really intense. It's like one of the best ones in the industry. And she was like, no, I think I'm good. She doesn't do Halloween.
Not like that.
So that was Matthew. So then the next year,
Being last year,
2017, we're like, well, last year we went in October, got hit by a hurricane. How about we go in September this year? Well, a little bit earlier, a little bit less crowded, a little bit less chance of a hurricane. So we were supposed to leave on Sunday. We were supposed to fly down on Sunday. The previous Monday, I see a thing on Facebook that Hurricane Irma is predicted to become a major storm and hit the U.S. And this was the first time that they'd predicted it hitting the U.S. instead of just going back out to sea. Angie's going to bed. Good night. I'm glad you got to hang out this time. She's been trying to catch a stitch with me for a while. So I'm glad that she got to. So Hurricane Irma had been predicted to just kind of go out to sea. And then they were like, oh, it might make landfall. So we should watch this. And then they said, it's probably going to hit Florida. And I went, oh, crap. So that was the Sunday before our trip.
1 week.
It was 1 week that they first said it might make landfall in Florida. And I went, okay, well, we'll keep an eye on it. Monday afternoon. It was actually right about noon. Was when they released the models showing it making a direct hit on Florida. Somewhere between, along the Atlantic coast between Miami and Daytona, or Miami and Jacksonville, aka the middle of the state.
What's in the middle of the state?
Where Disney is. So I called her. She was at work. And was like, so we need to talk. Like now. This is gonna be a problem.
We should keep an eye on
We
this.
need to, and at this point it was we need to keep an eye on it. Let's talk about options. So I took my laptop and we met and we had hibachi. I remember that very clearly, that we were sitting at one of the little cubby hole tables at hibachi. And we're sitting there looking at, and by this time it's 2 or 3 hours later, and they've updated the maps a little bit, and it's showing more and more that it's going to hit Central Florida. And so I looked up flight options for if we needed to move our flight later. Well, I wasn't the only one. On Monday afternoon, no, I think it was Tuesday.
It was Tuesday.
It was Tuesday. We get a message from Southwest that they are predicting storm closures the following weekend and are allowing anybody who is booked to fly in or out of Orlando
Within 14 days on either side.
Well, they were allowing it for you. They were allowing you to rebook for no extra charge. And usually, Southwest allows you to change your booking, but you have to pay the difference in fare. They were letting you change it without paying the difference. So we're like, okay, I think we need to seriously, they're saying that the airport's probably going to be closed. They said our flight was one that they were expecting to be canceled. We need to figure out what we're doing. So we go to look at rebooking. The next flight that we can get on, because it was me, her, and my sister-in-law. We're all going, the three of us. The next flight, it was a girls trip. We were going for it was Stacy's first trip to Disney. She'd never been before.
And
so
then it was your anniversary trip
and
later
it was
in the week.
Yeah, it was my anniversary trip.
And then it was her son's birthday trip over the weekend after.
Yeah. So my husband was flying down Wednesday, and my brother and my two nephews were flying down Thursday. And then we were supposed to stay until the following Sunday, so we were staying a full week. So we already know our flight's going to get canceled, so we're like, ugh, we got to find another flight. Well, when's the next time the three of us could get out after that? Saturday. The next Saturday. AKA the day before we were scheduled to leave and finish our trip. Mm-hmm. We could get 1 seat earlier or 2 seats earlier, but we could not find a flight with 3 seats available until Saturday. Well, crap. Do we want to rebook 3 sets of flights and DVC hotels and all this other headache of having planned this massive trip with all these people and all these people that are arriving at different times and all the hotel rooms and what else. Do we really want to do this? Or do we just want to go down before the hurricane hits? So I looked at flights before the hurricane, and wouldn't you know, we had every available option we wanted.
Nobody wants to go
to Florida at a hurricane.
Just us crazy women.
So we're like, well, we kind of kept an eye on it. And then on Wednesday, it was like, okay, at this point, we know 100% certain it is hitting Florida on Sunday.
Wednesday's when they announced that they would be doing curfew.
Yeah, Wednesday was when they were like, we are closing the airport. We are going to go on curfew. It is going to hit. At this point, it was a Category 5. And it was in the Caribbean. It was a Category 5 predicted to make a direct hit on Central Florida. And it was like, okay, this is serious now. This isn't like Matthew when they were kind of like, oh, we don't really know what it's going to do. It's probably going to do. And it's not, Matthew was a Category 5, but it wasn't a severe Category 5. It wasn't like a really strong one. Irma was. So, we're kind of like, what have you? And I've missed a stitch. I missed a stitch right there. So we're like, okay, well, what are we gonna do? And we're like, if we go down there ahead of time, ahead of this hurricane, since we know we're not gonna be able to fly in on our normal day, and we know we're not gonna be able to get another flight down there until almost a week later, which would require rebooking the entire trip, which, by the way, travel insurance, everybody's like, well, didn't you have travel insurance? Travel insurance doesn't cover DVC, Disney Vacation Club. So no, we didn't. We did not have travel insurance for that, because you can't get it for DVC. So, because we weren't technically paying for the hotel rooms, we were using points for them. So you cannot get that covered. So, and, Southwest was letting us reschedule the flights anyway. So, there was nothing for travel insurance to have covered other than massive headache. So, like I said, we were like, okay, well, if we go down there ahead of the storm, I'm not terribly worried about being safe at Disney. They're not going to let us starve. They're not going to let us run out of water. They're not going to let us drown. They're going to take care of us. Not that worried. We'll be prepared. We'll take, we took our own supplies down there. We took food. We took snacks. We took drinks. We took
flashlights,
ponchos, batteries. Yeah, everything you could, all the stuff they say to have in an emergency kit. We had it. We took it with us. We had a suitcase that was our hurricane suitcase. It went down with us. And we decided to just go ahead and fly down the Friday before, which got us there 2 days before the hurricane hit, so that we would not lose any time out of our trip, because we figured, the parks will probably be closed Sunday and Monday, so we're going to lose 2 days of park time. And that's exactly what happened. They closed Sunday and Monday. So we did have our 2 days of park time made up for. So we flew down Friday, and we stayed at the Contemporary, which, if you're not familiar with Disney, the Contemporary, it's the hotel the monorail goes through. It's right next to Magic Kingdom. It is made of solid concrete. Pretty sure that thing could withstand a direct nuclear bomb. I don't think there was a safer place in the state of Florida to ride a hurricane out. So, we were fine. They kept all the restaurants open, which they did not do during Matthew. Whereas during Irma, they were, I think, a little bit more prepared. Because they're like, we just did this last year. We know what to do now. We know what not to do. So the restaurants were open. Stacy's mom was freaking out the entire time. And I think the funniest thing that we did was we ate at California Grill, which is the 5-star restaurant. Very, 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 very good restaurant. Very expensive restaurant on the top floor of the Contemporary, which has a view over the Magic Kingdom. You can watch the fireworks from there, stuff like that. Very, very high quality meals. It was the first place I ever had Wagyu beef, which is a type of Kobe beef, aka the most expensive and best steak you can buy. Also, the best thing I've ever put in my mouth. So we went to California Grill Saturday night. And Stacy's mom, meanwhile, is sending her texts about, are you sure that you're going to be able to get food? Are you sure you're going to be able to... So we sent Stacy's mom a picture of Stacy eating her extremely expensive steak, which, by the way, Disney Dining Plan rocks. Her extremely expensive steak and drinking a cocktail. And she was like, Mom, I'm fine. It was pretty funny. So we were up in the California Grill when the outer rain bands started coming in. So we're like watching the wind just like whip the water over the top of the building. So that was actually kind of really cool to see. And we're like, wow, it's getting really bad out there. Oh, you can see all the trees bending over in the parking lot type of thing. So then we wandered around the hotel for a bit, went back to our room. And we just so happened to be on the opposite side of the building from where the storm was coming from. So the building protected us from most of it. Apparently on the far side of the building where the wind was coming just straight at it, it was pushing water under people's balcony doors. So they were like trying to like stop that up with towels and stuff. But our side didn't have that problem. It just happened to work out that way. And so my crazy ass stood on the balcony and live streamed the entire thing to Facebook. I ran like a 2-hour live stream of a Category 5 hurricane hitting Orlando. Because I'm crazy. It wasn't a Category 5 by the time it hit us, because it actually made landfall in Tampa, south of Tampa, in Naples. And then came across the state, so it had weakened down to, I believe, a 3 by the time it hit us. So it was still very strong. It was still very incredibly strong winds. Strongest winds I've ever experienced. But I live streamed a hurricane. That's me for you. The funny story about Hurricane Matthew. So I mentioned that it was like, it barely even rained, and we just got some wind, and it was like rather anticlimactic. They closed Magic Kingdom. Well, they closed all the parks at 5 the night it hit. And right as they closed Magic Kingdom, I have this awesome picture of Main Street and the hub right in front of the castle with this just terrifyingly dark cloud of the storm moving in. And right as they were pushing, and they pushed everyone out of the park. It wasn't we're closing at 5, but you can still go to the shops and we're going to clear the ride lines out. No, at 5, get out. They were literally like corralling people down the street. And right as we got to the main entrance, the first rain band made it in. And that is like the heaviest rain I've ever seen in my life. I have never been so drenched in such a short period of time as when that rain band moved in and we were running to the bus stop and still just soaked. Like, sit down, wring water out. They had to turn the heat on in the bus in, October when it was it was actually supposed to be in like the 80s. So they had the air conditioning running full blast because it had been nice and warm that day. And they had to switch it over to heat because we were all so drenched and it was so, it was making us, it was going to give somebody pneumonia or something. But that was, oh my God, it was so hard, that rain. The bus drivers driving and that stuff, I felt so bad for them because that's literally the heaviest rain I've ever seen in my life. I didn't go out in Hurricane Irma other than onto the porch, so I don't know about how soaking its rain was. I mean, I was getting the blowback from it just from standing out on the balcony, and I was pretty wet. And I was wearing a poncho, so.
And your phone was in a Ziploc bag.
Yeah, my phone was in a Ziploc bag. That was before I got my current phone, which is waterproof. My old phone was not waterproof, so I had it in a Ziploc bag to keep it dry. But it worked. Worked quite well.
Yes, it did.
The nice thing, though, about going to Disney in a hurricane, the reason we said let's do that again, the park was empty. It was empty before, And it was empty after. It was more empty before. The Saturday, right before, because like I said, the hurricane hit on Sunday. And the Saturday, they did stay open normal park hours because it wasn't supposed to hit till Sunday afternoon into evening. So they stayed open till, I think it was like 9 o'clock, normal park hours on Saturday. And there was just nobody there. Like Toy Story Mania usually has like a pretty long line, like 45 minutes to an hour. And we didn't wait at all for it. We walked up the line and got on. It was, yeah, like 2 or 3 times. It was crazy. Seven Dwarfs Mine Train had like a 15-minute wait. I've never seen the park that empty.
Except for a hurricane.
Except for a hurricane. And then like even after when they reopened on Tuesday, it was pretty dead then too, actually.
And that was a Halloween party night.
Yeah, we went to the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party, and there was like nobody there. So that was pretty cool. Rode all the rides we wanted. Many times as we wanted. We all dressed up. I made our costumes. They're on my Instagram, pictures of our costumes. The 3 of us were the 3 fairies from Sleeping Beauty. Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather. I made our capes and our skirts. And then later that week we did another Halloween party because we are obsessed with the Halloween party. Because it's so good.
Well, and it was also your husband's chance when he
joined us. Because he didn't get to go last year because they canceled the Halloween party. That was what we were supposed to do on our anniversary, was go to the Halloween party, which obviously they canceled because hurricane. So he hadn't gotten to go the last year. The year before. Me and her stayed an extra day so that we could go, but he had to go back to work, so.
Because we couldn't get flights out.
Yeah, we could get 1 ticket on a Sunday night flight. We gave it to him because he had to go back to work, and then we stayed an extra 2 days after that, and we ended up doing the Halloween party. But my husband hadn't done it, and I knew he'd enjoy it, so we did it again after he came down. And me and him dressed as ballroom dancer ghosts from the Haunted Mansion. And I'm still super, super proud of my dress. I made the entire thing. All of a green chiffon over a white satin skirt. And it looked awesome. I looked incredible in it. I was very proud of it. I have no idea where I am. I'm right there. Okay.
Somewhere between stitch 1 and finished.
Indeed. That would be an excellent description of where I am.
Because I'm totally helpful like that.
Yep. Well, we're now at 2 hours and 12 minutes, and my average Stitch With Me video is about 2 hours. Look at all that progress I've gotten done, which is kind of impressive considering how much I've been running my mouth. That's actually 2 different colors of gray. I mean, it's not black, it looks black, but it's actually 2 different colors of gray. But moving right along. I'm happy. I've made good progress for tonight.
I've got 110 stitches in.
Hey. It's probably about how many I've got.
Which is up from my, 62 count that I used to do.
Yeah. Yeah, next thing you know, you're going to have like one of those 1,000 days.
Yeah, no.
My current record is like 1,300 in one day, but that was stitching like all day for like 8 hours. But tomorrow I have to work. And then we're going to go see a movie. Or possibly in the reverse order of that. And then Friday I get to go pick up stuff from my framer, which I'm going to get to show you guys. I've been waiting to do another floss tube video until I get my piece back from my framer. So... well, at 2 hours and 15 minutes, I think I'm going to go ahead and finish off this video so that I can concentrate on stitching and maybe make a little further progress. So thanks for watching with me, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed our little chatter and the Crafty Curator tag and all of that. And watch for another floss tube video later this week. I may do another Stitch With Me on Friday. We'll see. Depends on if I'm working or not. I'm usually working Friday nights. But I've had fun. Hopefully you guys have too, listening to our crazy stories about flying into hurricanes. And we'll see you guys later. As soon as I figure out how to turn off the thing. I don't know how to stop streaming without, like, knocking my phone everywhere. Okay. There's the button. Alright. Bye, guys.
Bye.